Hello students, by this video lesson, today I am going to explain chapter 2, Sexual Reproduction in Flowering Plants. Now students, before starting the chapter, let us recall the first chapter. There we studied what the sexual reproduction. What is sexual reproduction? It is an ability of an organism to produce their own kind by formation and fusion of gametes. So here, if we talk about sexual reproductive structure in flowering plant, or you can say in angiosperm, that is a flower. So here I have drawn the diagram of a flower, a typical structure of a flower. So what is a flower? In literature, we say that flower is a symbol of love. It is a symbol of affection, happiness. It is symbol of grief and mourning. It is meant for ornamental purposes. It is meant for aesthetic value. It has social, emotional and religious, cultural as well. Right. Now if we talk about a structure of a typical flower, so we can see in this diagram that it consists of various parts. Now from the very beginning we can start from this point, that the part of the flower from where we hold the flower, or you can say the stalk of the flower from where we hold it, is called pedestal. Now just above the pedestal there is a swollen base. Sometimes the base may not be swollen. This can be easily visible in rose flower, but in other you can see the base may not be swollen. It may be flat. That structure is called thalamus. Okay. Now in some flowers pedestal may be present, then the flower is called pedicellate. If the pedestal is absent, then the flower is called sessile. Now students, on the thalamus are born 4 different whorls. Now what are the whorls? What are the leafy appendages which are born on the thalamus? Now here we can see that thalamus consists of 4 whorls. These are calyx, corolla, endoecium and gynoecium. Now let us discuss one by one all these whorls. And the flower that has all the 4 whorls, that flower is said to be a complete flower. Now first of all, the first appendage, the first little leafy appendage that arises from thalamus is calyx. And what is calyx? Group of sepals. Generally sepals are green in color. They are meant to protect the flower in bud condition from grazing and browsing animals. Now next little appendage that arises from thalamus is petal, and group of petals is called corolla. Petals are bright in color. They are colorful, they are beautiful, they may produce fragrance just to attract insects, attract you, attract other animals, just for pollination. Now if we talk about another appendage, that is stamen. Stamen is male reproductive part, and group of stamens is collectively known as androecium. Stamens may be attached with petals or with tepals. If stamens are attached with petals, then this condition is called epipetalous, that you can see in Solanaceae family, for example brinjal. And they may be attached to, these stamens may be attached to tepals, for example in lily family, for example onion and lily flower. Now at the center position carpel is present. So you can say central position is occupied by carpel, which is female reproductive structure, and the technical term for it is gynoecium. And a single unit of gynoecium is called pistil, which is divided into 3 parts: stigma, style and ovary. We will discuss it in detail later on. Now first of all, let us talk about botanically we call flower as modified condensed reproductive shoot. Now why is it called shoot? It is called shoot because it is divided into nodes and internodes. And you can't differentiate between the 2 nodes because the internode is highly condensed. So from each node arises a little appendage that we called a whorl. That is why it is called a shoot. Now some shoot apices undergoes structural and physiological changes under the influence of hormones, say a hypothetical hormone flow region, which converts shoot apices into floral appendages, or you can say into floral body, or you can say inflorescence, where the flowers are attached. Okay. Now here we can see that a flower is said to be a modified shoot because it is divided into nodes and internodes, and from each node arises a lateral appendages that we call a whorl, and a complete flower has all the four whorls. So China rose is a complete flower which has all the four whorls. If we talk about incomplete flower, so incomplete flower may not have any one of the appendage, especially either they have male reproductive part or female reproductive part. If a flower has only female reproductive part, then we call it pistillate, and if it has only male reproductive part, then we call it staminate. An example of incomplete flower, or you can say unisexual flower, is cucurbits. So in cucurbitaceae you can find unisexual flowers. Now students, here we are going to discuss some essential and non-essential parts of a flower. Now first and second, that is calyx and corolla, both are non-essential parts of a flower. Why are they non-essential? Because they are not directly involved in sexual reproduction of flower, but yes, they assist, they help in sexual reproduction, while endoecium and gynoecium are essential parts of a flower because they are directly involved in the formation of seeds. They are directly involved in sexual reproduction, the final product of which is seed. Now students, let us discuss essential parts of the flower. Now here these are the stamens. Let us discuss them in detail. You can see this is anther and this is filament. So a typical stamen is divided into two parts: anther, which is the fertile part of the filament, fertile part of the stamen, and a long filament which helps anther to raise above the level of the petals so that pollination can be resulted easily. Now here you can see the proximal end of stamen is attached to the thalamus or to the petal or to the tepal depending upon the species, and the distal end has a anther, which is a fertile structure. In some cases anther may not be fertile. It means no pollen grains are produced in it, and that is known as staminode. So sterile stamen is known as staminode. Now here I have drawn the transverse section of, or you can say a cut section of anther. This section can easily demarcated two lobes. You can see the two lobes of anther. Each lobe has two cavities, and each cavity has one microsporangium. So here in total we have 4 microsporangium. These microsporangium later converted into pollen sacs, where pollen grains are produced by the process of meiosis. Now in between the microsporangia there is thin walled cells present which help in dehiscence of anther, or you can say bursting of anther, so as to release pollen grains for pollination. Now students, if we talk about the structure of carpel, so here we have carpel which is divided into three parts. Carpel is also known as gynoecium, and the single unit of carpel is called pistil, which is divided into three parts. What are they? Stigma. Stigma is the landing platform for pollen grain. It is the receptive platform for pollen grains, where pollen grains are deposited after pollination. It also helps in deciding the compatible and incompatible pollen grains. And then you can see another long stalk-like structure that is called style. It is long just to raise the stigma above the level of flower for easy pollination. And this pistil has a swollen base, and this swollen base is known as ovary. Within ovary lies an ovule. I have made only one ovule. Now within the ovary there is a chamber called ovarian cavity, which is divided into different parts, compartments called locules. Within locules are present ovules, which are attached to the ovary locules by a parenchymatous cushion called placenta. Now here in the chamber you find only one ovule. Ovule may be one, ovule may be many. For example, one ovule can be seen in rice, in wheat, in maize, in mango, while more than one ovules can be seen in papaya, in watermelon, etc. So here these are the different structures of a typical flower or a complete flower. In next video I am going to share with you how the pollen grains are produced in an anther, or you can say more specifically in microsporangia. What are the different wall layers of anther and how megasporogenesis resulted in an ovule. So thank you for watching me. Thanks a lot.